All right, you can achieve everything you want to in life. And when you think about achieving big dreams, who comes to mind? Somebody who really dug into their imagination and created dreams, right? Created reality from dreams. Walt Disney. Walt Disney is somebody I think about. And Disney said, right? If you can dream it, you can achieve it. And I agree. Now, if you're not seeing the results in your life that you want to see, you're the problem. So this is like tough love for you today. You are the problem, but lucky for you, I am here to show you exactly what to do to turn your dreams into reality. That's because I've been able to do this time and time again. And I am super excited. Hopefully, you're feeling the energy that I'm bringing to you. Because back in 2019, I signed a contract, right? I signed a contract with Corwin to create what became Mastermind Unlocking Talent Within Every School Leader. That's my latest book. And I am really super jazzed to share with you today that Mastermind achieved bestseller status. That's right. So, a goal that I set back in 2019 to turn Mastermind into a bestseller has been achieved today, 11 months after being published. And before I even typed one single word, before I wrote one word, I thought deeply. I experienced what would the feeling be like to be a bestseller, and it's absolutely everything I'm feeling right now. Now, that is a hint to some of what I want to teach you today about creating reality from your dreams. Experiencing it, feeling it in the moment is the key that unlocks it. Okay. Before I wrote a single word for a book, right? And you have to write a lot of words. It was nearly 50,000 words that I wrote that became the bestseller Mastermind Unlocking Talent Within Every School Leader. Before I did that, what was the first thing? Experiencing it, yes. I started to journal about it and that kind of deal. But I hired a designer. His name is Michael. He's designed the podcast cover, for Better Leaders, Better Schools, which is also ranked in the top 0.5% of all shows worldwide, any industry, any niche. And I told Michael, listen, this is not going to be the cover of the book that ends up being published, right? I want you to understand that. But the reason I'm asking you to design a book cover for me is because I want to visualize every single day from whatever that was. Let's just say September 2019 until September of 2022. I want to look at my screensaver and I want to look at the book cover that you designed. And it literally has back matter, it has a summary, a synthesis of the book. It says bestseller on the cover. Like it is there, right? And I looked at that every single day before I even wrote a single word. Now, I want to share with you 5 things that I've learned from achieving bestseller status. And these tips will also absolutely be applicable and help you be a better leader as well. And then after the 5 tips, because I always want to over deliver, a bonus framework for creating reality from your dreams. Okay, so tip number 1, let's move on. Do something you're passionate about, right? So obviously, I am extremely passionate about building better leaders. It's funny, and this is totally true, but this happens the most on LinkedIn. People say, why you talk about schools and leadership? What you're teaching is just leadership. That is true. But I became a teacher way back when in 2001. The short story there is the epitome of success. My best friend's father, Mr. Brogan, at the time, who symbolized everything about success for me. He said if he could do it all over again, he'd become a teacher. And that set me on a path to pursuing education. Since then, that's just always been my jam. I love school leaders. My mission is to connect, grow, and mentor every school leader who wants to level up. So when it comes to education, right, I believe that the mastermind, the way we support school leaders, is changing the game, right? Is changing the landscape of how school leaders experience professional development. So do something you're passionate about. And the key question here, if you're taking notes, is this: how are you changing the game, right? How is your school? So let's put it in the context of school. How is your school changing the game for your parents, faculty, and students? And if you're not there yet, what are the upper limits that you're putting on yourself? What would you need to give yourself permission to play full out to change the game for your school community? So that's point number 1 of 5. Moving on. Number 2, protect your mind, right? You have to be super diligent in terms of having boundaries and building walls to be very careful of what the inputs are within your mind. Before I started the Better Leaders, Better Schools podcast and the mastermind, there was a quote that I heard on a podcast that ruined my life. That quote was from Jim Rohn, and he said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Holy schnizzles. I had to really think deeply about who I surrounded myself with, right? What kind of things were they telling me and saying to me? I remember showing friends and family my journal for what I wanted Better Leaders, Better Schools to become. And a lot of people said that will never work. I remember even being at this like startup, I don't know. We weren't necessarily pitching and trying to get funding. It was like a connection deal in Chicago. And I remember telling this guy who was successful business, blah, 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 the idea of the mastermind. He's like, that's never going to work in education. Oh, yeah, sucker. Look at us now. 11 cohorts, 100 members. We have a deal with the Department of Education, with the state of Delaware, where we created a first-year principal program. I think this is working. So back to point 1, do something you're passionate about, change the game, which we certainly are for school leaders. Point 2, protect your mind. Be very careful about who you surround yourself with, what type of books and media that you digest and ingest. This all clouds up your thinking if you're not super careful. And positive visualization, just like the book cover, right, that I looked at every single day for 3 years, making this thing a bestseller, right? What are you constantly looking at, thinking about, meditating on? Okay, so that's point 2. That's all I have to say. Number 3, take responsibility for the outcome, right? I wanted it to be a bestseller. I knew it was going to be a bestseller, but nobody owes me nothing, right? Corwin, which was a great partner, a great publisher, it is not their responsibility to sell the books or to market the books or to make it a bestseller. They want to see it successful because they get to help more readers, they'll make more money as a publisher, but it's not their responsibility. That is my responsibility. So the key question for you, whatever you're trying to achieve in life, right? Whether that's as a school leader or putting a book out there, whatever that project is, how are you taking 100% of responsibility to achieve the goal that you want to achieve? It is nobody else's responsibility but yours. I see a lot of people frustrated, right, in education, and I get it. Burnout's real. It's very difficult context to lead in. It hasn't gotten easier, it's only gotten harder. And people talk a lot about the lack of districts providing wellness programs, self-care, blah, 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 blah. It is not called district care, right? This is just a very easy example. It's called self-care. Your responsibility, you do it, right? And put yourself in a place where you can get the positive impact, right, and effects of taking care of yourself. But don't, wait for anybody else to take care of you. That is your responsibility. So that's all I have to say about taking responsibility for the outcome. Number 4, the 4th thing I've learned with bestseller status, over deliver, right? What do you want your reputation to be? When people work with me within a coaching program, like the Mastermind, Principal Success Path, one-on-one private client stuff, they come to a live event, or they buy a book, right? Or the audiobook like I'm working on. This is going to be the best audiobook in education. I guarantee it. Why? I'm going to over deliver like no other. I'm going to add more content. I'm going to go deep on the ideas, help people really actually apply not just what I talk about, but to see the results, right? We're in the results business as leaders. So how are you providing results? How are you over delivering for your school community? What do you want your reputation to be? I don't have to go live right now and teach on these 5 things that I learned. Why do I do it? Because I love the people that want to connect with me. There's a handful of folks, right? We call ourselves ruckus makers. It means we invest in our continuous growth. We challenge the status quo. We design the future of school now. There is a small community of people who want to hear from me, and I'm going to serve them with everything I have. And that has built a reputation of over delivering in the process. And that's all I have to say about point 4. Moving on to point 5. So the fifth thing I learned about getting a bestseller status today, 11 months after Mastermind was published, have a framework, right? I've told this story a million times, and the too long didn't read version is the first draft of the book sucked, right? Ariel, I don't know if you're watching. That's the editor who started with me on this project, and the editor who helped me complete bestseller status is Tanya, and I appreciate them both very, very much. Ariel said, like, listen, the first draft stinks, Danny. You gotta make it better. Especially, this is a very important topic to bring into the world. So one of the key lessons I learned there, leaders often put in more hours and they work even harder to try to finish a project. That can work sometimes, but a better path might just be slow things down and walk away from the project. So for me to write a better book, I stopped writing a book. I stopped writing. I started taking walks in Berry Park in Syracuse, New York with my wonderful dog, Alba. And I just started dreaming, like, why does the mastermind work? Why does the mastermind work? There has to be a framework here. And the framework I came up with to be also hopefully aligned with education, I wanted to do something with ABC, right? So I created the ABCs of Powerful Professional Development. And when I thought about it, and I was like, A for authenticity, B for belonging, C for challenge, it resonated not just here, but in my heart as well, right? This is why the mastermind works. We intentionally integrate authenticity, belonging, and challenge. And when I presented that framework to Ariel, she said, "You got it, Danny, right? You got it. Do the book. Tell the story that way, right? What's wrong with current PD models? How can it be better? Introduce the framework." And then chapters 3, 4, 5 is authenticity, belonging, challenge, going deep. And then you wrap it up with a conclusion. So whether you're leading a school, you're writing a book, whatever you're doing, have a framework. It gives people confidence. I was reading a book by the Stanford Design School recently, and I love it. It's called Navigating Ambiguity. And I'm going to do a free webinar for ruckus makers too on this topic, because leading in these times, the current context of school leadership, very ambiguous. It's hard not to know, like, it's foggy, right? We can't see the next step, the next 2 steps ahead of us. So how do you navigate ambiguity? Part of it is having a map, understanding that you have a process that you can lead people through that gives confidence, right? And so that, anyways, having a framework, super duper helpful. And I think that's why Mastermind has been so successful, right? Okay, so let me just review those really fast, and then we're going to get to the bonus tips. So 1, do something you're passionate about. 2, protect your mind. 3, take responsibility for the outcome. 4, over deliver. 5, have a framework. So the bonus tip, here's the framework, right, for creating what you want in life. If you have big dreams, and I really hope you do if you're watching this, how do you turn those dreams into reality? I've done this time and time again in my life, and I've figured out what the framework is. This I should charge $10 million or $100 million for, because I'm literally teaching you here how to turn your dreams into reality. But it's free because I love you and I want to just serve in this moment. So it's 4 steps to creating what you want in life. The first step is experience, right? So when you're positively visualizing, when you're turning a dream into reality, the most important thing you can do is experience the success, experience the project completion, experience that thing that you want to see manifested into this world. Think about the feelings, right? How does it feel to be a bestseller? How does it feel to be a parent? How does it feel to get your first principal job, right? These are all things that people may want. How does it feel to have that bigger house? I don't know. So whatever it is, think about that. And you can even just journal and get as detailed, as nitty gritty as you can, experiencing and feeling what it's like to achieve the thing, to have the thing. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, and there's only 4 steps. Number 2, start to think, right? And this is where leaders often love to go first, right? Is to have a plan. Planning is great, and you need a plan. That is point number 2. But to even make the plan an achievable thing, think about the feelings first. So we've thought about it. then have a plan. You've heard backwards map, you've heard reverse engineer. So start at the end, right? End in mind, and then think about all the little steps that need to happen for you to achieve said goal. Okay, so that's part two. Part three of four, then start talking about it, right? And this is something that I'm very public with. I always tell leaders establish your goals and then talk about those goals in public and then show the work in public too, right? So tell people the progress, how things are going. Don't hide the failures. Talk about what you've learned regarding the failures, right? But talk with people about what you're trying to do. You may have seen me do this recently with a new project, right? Last week, I talked about an awesome live event that I'm putting on. Four speakers, guest speakers, have already said yes. These people are so amazing. If you join me at this live event and then you see the people just show up because it's going to be a surprise, you're not going to believe who's there. Okay. So I'm tempting you and teasing you a little bit, but it's truly amazing. And where's the event, right? I talked about how the event's in Costa Rica. Why Costa Rica? One, I love getting out of the country just to experience new cultures. It's super fun, right? And it teaches me that there's not just one way of doing life. Two, I live in Syracuse and the weather sucks in January. Let's be honest, right? I would much rather be in Costa Rica in January than Syracuse, New York. So I'm selfishly choosing a beautiful climate to bring other ruckus makers. This live event's all going to be about mindset and personal optimization. And it's going to be 2 days of leadership mindset training. And then a third day of more training, but outdoors, where we're doing adventure experiences. Think like bucket list worthy stuff, right? Things remarkable. Could be whitewater rafting, could be zip lining, could be, skydiving. I know that there's these hot springs you can splash around in and relax in while looking at an active volcano, like really cool stuff you'll tell your friends and family. They will not believe, right, how awesome of an experience you'll have. And think about every education conference ever. They're easily forgettable. My events are remarkable, right? They are so much fun. Not only do you learn great content, but there's plenty of space to actually apply what you learn as well. And therefore, you get the results. Because again, we're in the results business. So you could go to Indianapolis. There's conferences happening there, this year. And that's fine. Or you could join me in Costa Rica, right? Now, I was just modeling right there, being risky and being vulnerable and authentic in the sense that I hope to, and not hope to, I will be putting on an event. I've already hired the event planner. We're getting started. We're going to have the locations, the adventure experiences, all that mapped out real soon. And 30 people, is the maximum I want to bring there. So now it needs to happen. But here I am in public saying I'm doing this thing. Right now, 0 people have signed up. That's because I haven't asked. But we do have a wait list, right? So if you want me to reach out with you and follow up and see if, okay, the timing is good. It's January 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and the 16th. Optional pre-event dinner on the 12th. 2 days of leadership training, 13th, 14th. 15th is our day of outdoor experiences and adventure experiences. And the 16th, Martin Luther King Day, January 16th, people will fly home, right? So anyways, that's when it's happening, and it's super awesome. And then the fourth step. So we've experienced it, we've felt it, we've thought about it, we've planned it out, backwards map. We started talking about it like I just did with Costa Rica. The last way to turn your dreams into reality is to take action. So I'm doing that now through words. I'll start inviting people, right, to the live event, but whatever you're working on. So whether it's launching the podcast, writing a book, transforming your learner community at your school, okay? Feel what it's like to create this type of school, okay? Start thinking about the plan, backwards map. Start telling everybody about the school community that you're creating for your learners, and then start executing the plan. John Doerr says, ideas are easy, execution is everything. A lot of people can talk, Not everybody walks the walk and actually puts it into place. All right. If you stayed on this long, thank you for watching. I want you to put in the comments below, what was your number one insight? What was your number one insight from the 5 things that I've learned from becoming a bestseller, or this bonus training on turning your dreams into reality? I would love to know what was most beneficial for you. And as we sign off here, if you go to betterleadersbetterschools.com/Costa Rica, you can sign up for the trip. And let me see if I could pull that up for you really quick. And I could even show you what that looks like. Okay. So just give me just a second here. And here we go. So if you go over to betterleadersbetterschools.com/Costa Rica, you can see here there's a video that's explaining the event, and you can join the wait list. All right. First name, last name, put your email address, put your best mailing address where you live at home too, because I actually have some surprises I'd like to send you. And then your personal cell, so I can text and call and follow up, right? There's just a high level agenda, which I described on this video, and when and where. And as the details come more out, we will definitely get them to you. And you can see some beautiful pictures of Costa Rica. If you find yourself somewhere like I do in Syracuse, come on. You owe it to yourself to get out of there and experience some beautiful weather in January as well. All right. Danny here from Better Leaders, Better Schools, Chief Ruckus Maker. Bye for now and go make a ruckus.